Wow, thank you very much. I know, as you may have understand, I am an alumnus of Danske Bank, and many things these two guys have been talking about. I can relate a lot. There are some things, Cloud Factory. I believe what you call Cloud Factory today, the first lines of code was written by my team back in 2019 or something like that. So it's a long time past, so I enjoyed listening to you guys, how with a lot of passion you've been telling the story and how much, Danske Bank has evolved since I have left it. Nevertheless, now what I am doing, during, when listening to you guys, I thought, okay, these two guys are presenting so well and have so much passion about what they do. I need somehow to bring you in to do presentation for my own business, because what I do in my own business is, I used to work in Danske Bank, other banks, other fintech companies, and for more than 20 years right now, and I always been coming and doing the same over and over again, something similar to what have been guys talking about. And typically now my clients are the ones who are not wondering to go through this journey, because they don't have that passionate talents as Danske Bank have. And I thought it might be a very good presentation, about my service. Look, guys, do you want to spend 20 months or 24 months or 30 months building something like these guys are building? Do you really have such a talent to do that? If no, go for my service. Like, that would be the perfect ad, guys. So thank you. So you set the scene perfectly for me. But moving forward, I will talk today about, without mentioning any names, of the journey with one of my clients where we did a transformation from a single cloud to multi-cloud. I will try to be a little bit more lightweight, because I think, the evening is building up and, the audience is getting tired. So a little bit, let's say, more lightweight content about the journey and the lessons which I have learned working with customers and transforming them in one or another way. But before moving there, a little bit about myself as a person, right? So I have a family, 2 kids, and during my free time, I like to race sports cars and play golf. And why I'm mentioning golf, because also it very much connects with the Danske Bank. Funny story is that, the Danske Bank in Lithuania, and I appeared in Danske Bank in Lithuania actually while playing golf. I do remember the story when I met Andrius Bagdonavicius in golf course, and after that in the restaurant sitting, he drew first organizational structure of what Danske Bank is today. That was like version number 1, 2014, I think. And, after that I joined, and, everything was drawn on a napkin. So if somebody says to you that great things cannot start from a napkin, they are lying. And, Danske Bank is very good proof of that. But let's move and talk about the topic. So, hired for a challenge, right? In my career, it always happens that, regardless whether I was working as an employee or now, another businesses are hiring me to do something, it's always somewhere the challenge lying behind, right? And what I learned during that period of time that, and this particular story very well illustrates that when the client or employer comes to you with a challenge, typically at the very beginning, it's only symptoms, right? And in this particular story, I had very interesting negotiation before I committed to deliver this transformation. It was, I think, almost 12 months. Customer was trying to hire me for that job. And, it was probably the longest period of time I have ever had when somebody convinces me to do like a good project for a good money. But what I felt in that, it's, the client haven't articulated the challenge yet, right? They're coming to me and they're saying, okay, we are a pretty successful company, but we have some challenges with infrastructure. I don't know, provisioning, as far as I remember, provisioning environments maybe too slowly for the customers. Our releases is not stable. Developers are sometimes even afraid to release. We have the incidents, and yes, this all are valid issues which customer has, but that was not a real challenge. And that conversation for 12 months, ended up in really like strong business challenge, where customer really understood that what's limiting them of getting better and grow business faster. It's not one or another incident or not a delay delivering environment for one or another customers. It was something bigger. And that something bigger was about actually the transformation which was lying behind, right? So that specific customer was super successful company, by the way, using AWS at that point in time for maybe 7-8 years, something like that. They grew successfully, business together on AWS, and it was really great choice from their perspective because, back in the days, it enabled them to move fast, there were less complexity, and other benefits, working in good partnership with AWS. At the same time, what we together understood is that while it was a success for them for many years, or up until that point in time, it is becoming a limiting factor for them or a bottleneck, right? Because if they want to grow their business even further, they need to do some transformation technological, which allows them to deliver their technology on any cloud provider. And that, back in the days, we've been talking about GCP, about Microsoft Azure, about Oracle Cloud, and even Alibaba, and like stuff like that, right? What does it mean? So, okay, we started to talk about the technological transformation, but then why to do that technological transformation? And it was, because of the burning markets, because of the clients in those markets who are not able to get their technology due to regulatory restriction and stuff like that, right? So what, the most important first step in that transformation for me was coming back to the point where you get all the commitments up to the board level, where board really commits that they need not only transform their technology, but also organization and all the processes around that, and do a significant investment in this change in order to achieve the goal. And that was super important mindset shift, which I got from the board, and I committed for that story. And in the further slides, you understand why this step was super important. So I committed and went for that. And, as always, and in all the previous job also, which I did, you come in with the challenge and, you need a team who will help you to address that big elephant in the room, right? So everything starts with a good people, right? So I started to build a team around that, because back in the days, I had no team. Yes, now I'm working business, it's okay, but back in the days, there were no team, I was alone. But what was interesting at that point in time, when I started to build everything, I signed up all the commitments, took big investments, and all of the possible documents has been signed, and everything was on the line. Something unexpected has happened, right? That unexpected was COVID. COVID was unexpected for everybody, and when I was dealing, for 12 months with that specific customer, I was not even, it was not even possible to anticipate that something like COVID could happen. And, I remember every day, since the first lockdown day, because that was the days when I started to get fat. My hair started to disappear, and the gray hair started to appear, and I tell you why. You imagine it was Thursday, then Friday, like a big mess, and then Monday comes in. I already nervous, and in the morning, I get a call. And, and I'm getting a call from a guy who is responsible to deliver the furniture into the new office building where new team to address this challenge will come in. And I am supposed to hire top 150 talents in Lithuania, the successful team which will help me to do this fantastic transformation, right? But, you need the space. Remote work was not something at that point in time, right? So we need an office where everybody will work. And the guy is calling me and says, look, Andrius, we have an issue. The issue is very simple. Due to this COVID restriction, there are some challenges with furniture delivery, right? We have tables which are produced in Germany. It will come into the office like planned, everything is okay. But another small detail, the chairs is produced in France. Macron has closed the border. Our trucks are sitting next to the border. We cannot go into France, which means we cannot collect the chairs, which means that probably all of your dream team will have tables but no chairs, but maybe it's not a big issue. Maybe, everybody will start working standing. And I said, oh, no. This is not work like this. Like, I am kicking off a new campaign. I am hiring top talents. They will not work standing. They need chairs. Whatever, let's do something about that. That's first big issue, which happens, but, chairs is mandatory. Go and figure it out. We have a deal, let's sort it out. I put the phone, and then, the next call happens. And then, I will not tell the names, but, those biggest recruiting agencies starts to call me. First recruiting agency is calling, and look, Andrius, due to what happened, you all remember, you've been applying for a job. Nobody applies for a job. There will be no pipelines. You will not have candidates. If you are going to hire people, we are not the company which will help you. And I said, okay, losers, there are other companies which will do that for me, no problem. The next call, another recruitment agency. The next call, another recruitment agency, and the same story. And by the lunch of Monday, I am already thinking that should I call back to the guy to whom I talk about the chairs? Maybe there is no reason to stretch him around those chairs because probably there will be nobody to sit on those chairs, right? So, and then that's, when my hair started to disappear because, big commitments, millions of investments, and, and I don't know, first step, and I am kneeling down. But at the same time, as I said, the commitment was mutual, right? It's not for me to deliver, but also the investment to have, which actually helped me to stand stronger and, move it through, right? What does it mean? It means that, okay, I still have the commitment, but, it's mutual, so I still need somehow to move it forward. And, what helps actually, people helped me, right? What I did, I pull out my phone from the pocket and started to scroll through the phone book. And that phone book, actually, scrolling through the phone book, okay, this guy I know, this guy could be a good fit for the team. This guy could be good for the team, etc., right? In alphabetical order. So sorry for those who I haven't called. Maybe your last names was at the bottom of my contact list, but that's, how I started. Yes, Andres, sorry about that. And that's, how the first people started, they came in and, everything starts moving forward. And, fast thing forward, by the end of the year, I am receiving award of fastest growing IT company in Lithuania in 2020 from Vilnius Go. And then, yes, first milestone check. But, if there would be no commitment, if organization wouldn't understand where we are, I think, I would have failed in the step number one. Another big thing which I want to talk about, and the guys has touched a little bit on that as well, is, that cloud, it's not just a tool, right? So back in the days, somebody what was grown, for 10 years in one cloud providers on EC2 instances, big machines as a monolithic application, it's not necessarily very easy to port it to any other cloud providers. because of multiple reasons, because of how networking works, yada, 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 all of those things. You saw in the previous presentation how lift and shift, even lift and shift, it's not that straightforward, right? So what does it mean? It means when you started to think about this transformation, the modern world today is developer experiences, but for, businessmen, I always say that, guys, it's, in order to start building something like that and moving that direction, you need an ecosystem around that cloud, which is processes and tools, which helps for developers to move fast. What does it mean? And that things are very simple, right? You start with, because, if developers are not able to spin the infrastructure and have to fill in requests and wait for that for days, weeks, or whatever, right? If they are afraid to release, and, all of those things stops them of moving forward, right? What does it mean? It means that you need to have, tools or ecosystem around to do self-service, to provision necessary infrastructure for them, to have decent release process, rollback process, to have observability and monitoring so they have visibility of what's going on. So all of this cloud, multi-cloud concept, it's not only about the pure infrastructure and service, but it's also about enabling the developers. That's the core thing. And once you enable the developers, then they can do the great things. And in this particular case, which we've been working, it was not a simple lift and shift. It was also, technological transformation, because from the very beginning, we understood that simple lift and shift will not work in any cloud provider because of the differences which are there. And now I touched a little bit on this breaking the monolith, which was another big thing for us to do. And, once you have all the ecosystem around, you can start talking to developer teams and thinking, and piloting how you will break that big monolith. Because, at that point in time, Kubernetes was already a buzzword which provided, to our understanding at that point in time, a decent abstraction layer, which we thought at the very beginning that it's extremely fantastic abstraction layer, which would allow us to deploy any piece of code the same way in any cloud. Apparently, it was not true, but I will talk about this in other slides. But in this slide, the focus is about how you prepare for Kubernetes and breaking the monolith to microservices. That was another mistake which we learned the hard way. And at that point in time, we took the strongest development team, which has taken on some piece of application and breaking it down into microservices. I would say we went too crazy. It became not microservices, it became nano services, and it was unmanageable at that point in time. And then, when people are starting to put gets and everything, like breaking into smaller pieces. So microservices is not, it felt like a holy grail at that point in time, but it's not, right? You really need to keep sane when you are breaking something into pieces, logical pieces, which still works together, goes together. So if you ever are working in the project where the target is to break the monolith in microservices, stay sane, stay within the sane boundaries of logical constructs, which still allows you to understand what's going on, and don't go too far away, right? So first version of our breaking the monolith has never ever seen the production environment. Yes, and then Kubernetes is not, and that's what I mentioned previously, right? What initially we felt will be for a holy grail of the abstraction layer, and it feels like, open source standard, everybody should follow that specification, and implementation is the same. Apparently it's not, right? I'm not even talking about differences if you deploy in Frankfurt, in East, West, wherever, which are the, let's say, decent data centers. But in that specific case, we've been deploying all around the world in exotic locations where, let's say, Microsoft Asia, for instance, decided to take some of their Office 365 CDN endpoints with slow networks, slow servers, and all of the shitty hardware to rebrand them into Azure data centers. And apparently you think you can come in and like deploy it. But once you deploy it, you understand that what performs very well in Frankfurt doesn't perform in Middle East, for instance, because it's built on in this co-location site where it's used to be an Office 365 location, right? And it takes you a hell of a effort of passionate engineers like Andrius and Mantas to convince Microsoft that, hey guys, like we're not comparing apples with apples in different locations. But from marketing point of view, it's all the same. Another thing, coming back to Kubernetes, what's also interesting that, when you go to, providers like AWS, GCP, right, the implementation is very close to what, the standard says. But when you go, for instance, to the same Microsoft Asia, what we learn the hard way as well. For instance, when something is claimed non-breaking change, so in AWS it's non-breaking change, but the same change in Microsoft Asia can be a breaking change, which brings down all of your environments immediately. And if you test there, like you cannot expect, you can expect actually something completely different in another cloud provider, right? And all of those experience makes you stronger when you work together as a team. Because believe me or not, I think it's quite an old concept, but when there is this tension between developers and engineers or dev and infra teams and somebody is trying to throw something over the fence to the others and there is all of this friction, that's, stops all the innovation, stops all the progress, and you cannot move anywhere, right? So also a very, very key moment, that all of those guys work together in order to sort out performance issues, release issues, whatever other changes you are trying to figure it out, because all of the competencies of those passionate guys who are building something, they like building something together much more smoother. And, even though it was clear many years ago, but, I still see it happening. But so please, think about it before doing any transformation and change. Make sure that everybody works as one team. And that's it. Thank you very much.